Welcome to Chicago History and Automotive Heaven. I'm Richie Z, the host, and we're at the 53rd Annual World of Wheels show in the Chicago area. We're at the Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois, and we're kicking off today's show with this beautiful 1948 Anglia. Now, Anglia was made by the Ford Motor Company in Europe. Now, I've talked about this in previous shows. Cars like this, during that era and into the 50s became the muscle car era. But that started around 1948 is when it started, because Oldsmobile had the first Rocket 88 high-performance factory motor. They doubled the horsepower that you normally got. So people were looking for cars that were unique, but the biggest trick with guys wanting to race automobiles has always been getting something that is extremely light. The lighter the vehicle, the faster it'll go. So that's why this gentleman picked this car. But he told me a little story about when he was in the war, in World War II. He fell in love with this. He was in England. He saw one of these, and that's why he picked one to build into this gorgeous street rod, hot rod, whatever you want to call it. You're going to see a lot of great cars today. We're the car show that you're going to hear my voice a lot, but chances are you're not going to see me a lot, because this is the eye candy. Anybody watching an automotive television show wants to see the car, and that's just what we're going to show you today at the 53rd Annual World of Wheels show in Chicago, Illinois. 1957 Chevy. This car became an icon in the industry and very sought after, from customizers to people that want to put them back in original condition. But I'll tell you a little thing about cars and why they end up being customized, a lot of them. Cars like this are very rare, but when you find them, the work that they need to put them back into pristine condition is really hard to do, with parts availability and stuff like that. So people opt out to customize them because you still have the retro flavor of the 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air, but you have the luxury of the modern drivetrain, air conditioning, and the modern amenities of the automobile industry today. Gorgeous 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air. 1956 Ford. What an interesting story I have for you with this automobile. Number one, completely customized. Gorgeous job, a gorgeous street ride here, 1956 Ford. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about the era and the year 1956 with the Ford Motor Company. Ford was not doing that well in the 50s. General Motors dominated the sales of automobiles. Ford was actually hurting. There was a guy named Lee Iacocca that worked for Ford. He was the head of media. He was the head of he was a public relations director for Ford Motor Company. And he came up with an idea: buy a 56 Ford for $56 down and $56 a month. And their sales quadrupled in 1956 because of what Lee Iacocca did. But again, take a look at the automobile. It is a gorgeous car. These are some gorgeous automobiles from that famous hit movie, Fast and Furious. We have here a 1970 Dodge Charger. Next one we have is a 1995 Mitsubishi Escape. Then we have the 1970 Chevelle, a very popular car back in that era of muscle cars in the 70s. Then we have the 2008 Challenger. Well, I like what Dodge did with the Challengers because they kept it, they gave it that retro look with the power of today. And then we have a Volkswagen Jetta that's used in the TV series also. We have a celebrity in the Chicagoland area. Well, you're on worldwide too because you're on the internet also, like I am. This is Ron Cowgill. I think most of you, if you listen to his show, you'll know him by Mighty House.
Correct.
Now, how long? I've been a follower of yours when you were on Sundays. I think at 11 o'clock.
Correct.
How long you been on?
We've been doing that show since about 7, 8 years now. So, yeah, we started out with 1 hour, and it just kept growing and growing and growing, and then they moved us to Saturdays, and now we're doing 3 hours.
Give us a plug of when and where and whatever they can find you.
The easiest thing is go to mightyhouse.net. We're on 4 different stations. We're also streaming live there. So if you go there, mightyhouse.net, click on the stuff, you'll see all the different stations we're on, and you can also do the
And
streaming.
you do a podcast also, so they can catch shows later on.
Correct.
You blow me away. I just got to tell you something. You are, when it comes to knowledge, folks, if you've ever had that repair person come to your house, if I can't fix it, I'll fix it so nobody else can. Ron is the guy that you call if that happened to you because he's the one that can maybe work your way out of that situation, right?
Oh yeah, people get into unique situations, just hiring people that don't know what they're doing, and then we help them out. They call in, and between Rich and Robbie and I, we get them pointed in the right direction and get them taken care of.
And one thing I want to mention about your show is you're like what I've been doing for the last 26 years. It's fun.
Yes.
You want to give out the knowledge. You want to, like what we're doing here at the show, we tell a little bit of history of the cars, the era, all the different things, but it's fun. I never got crazy where it's like, well, this has a 426 and a 645 rear end, and it's got torque, and I never get into any of that. How do you do that when you're looking at something this beautiful? And you're a Corvette driver too, right?
Hopefully someday I'll be driving it. I drove it off the trailer into the garage and then took it apart, and it's been apart now for 10 years. So I just tinker with it, and when I get time, I've done a frame off with it. So I'm at the point now where I'm putting the interior back together. It does run,
Okay.
but you can't drive it yet. So
And you're a biker too.
yeah, I've got 3 bikes. Yeah.
Okay,
So-
so this summer we got to get together and go. You live on the North Shore, right?
Yep. Up in Glenview.
I hate to even say this, but I always go up Sheridan Road up there. But the last few years, the police, like any noisy bikes and that, they've been pulling them over because there's been too much of
Right.
that going on. But if you got a regular cruiser like I have that doesn't make a lot of noise, most picturesque setting for a biker is Sheridan Road, north of Toohey, going all the way up north.
Oh yeah.
You go to any of the bars up north, there's a place in Gurnee, a biker bar.
Yeah, no, I don't hit the bars too much, but I'd like doing the charity ride events. We do the Ride for Kids, which is going to be up in Geneva this year. So Lake Geneva will be up there for the Ride for Kids, and so that'll be a good event. And I just try and pick up those kind of events on Saturday afternoons or Sundays and go hit those.
Folks, this is Ron from Mighty House. If you don't listen to his radio show, you need to. I have never heard you be stumped on the show. Between the three of you, you always have a bit of knowledge that helps people out, right?
That's the intention, is that, it's not just me. There's Rich Cowgill also, not my brother, by the way. And so he's got a different perspective. He looks at it from new construction more than I do. So I'm more of the, the handyman, fix-it guy. He does the new construction stuff. And then Robbie just represents the average homeowner, which, because she's been sitting on the show now for almost 4 years, she's actually starting to learn stuff and being able to answer those questions.
What I think is really, really cool about Robbie, just to let you, she wheels you guys back in when you get way over the hill.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you guys, that's what we do. We want to tell the whole story. But when it gets too far gone, she wheels you back in and let's take another call.
Right. And the other thing that happens, though, is because we try not to get into the weeds too much and get too descriptive, we get emails and phone calls the other way. Well, you didn't talk about this, and you didn't talk about this. So yeah, there's no winning with it, but that's what she's really there for, too, is to help us out, to get us out of the weeds and just get people pointed in the right direction.
Give us your website one more time and that so people can tune in.
It's mightyhouse.net, and just go there. You'll find all the radio stations we're on, and you'll find the streaming live stuff and the iTunes connections there also.
Ron, thanks you for being on my show.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. Thank you.
American Motors. Originally they were called Rambler. But this is American Motors car, 1969 AMX. Folks, these are very, very rare. They didn't make that many of them, so supply and demand. But to have one like this in this condition is very rare. People with these cars, when they come to a show, they won't see another car like theirs at the show. A lot of people have the traditional Chevy or Ford. AMX is very rare, and this is a gorgeous, full-blown custom AMX for 1969. World of Wheels, Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois, the 53rd annual. I'm here with Larry Way. You're the Public Relations Director for this show. First off, I want to thank you for setting us up with the media passes, but also we're getting back to what we used to do when we had the live radio show. We're giving away tickets to things. And Larry, you supplied us with a number of tickets. I already heard from a few of the guys that came. And tell me a little bit about O'Reilly's. Let's do them, because without them, we won't have a show. So, folks, let me just say one thing. Next time you're looking for that auto part or cleaning solution or wax or whatever it is, go to O'Reilly's, get it there, because they're people that keep shows like this around. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing here.
O'Reilly is they're a major sponsor with most of our. Sorry, excuse my voice. I started to lose it yesterday. O'Reilly's been with us for a number of years, and they're the title sponsor of most of our shows. And I always try to tell people, try and support those people that are supporting you. They're putting money into the car community. Let's spend it. At least give them a chance. We have a great show this weekend. We have, pardon me. We have the ISCA Championship Finals. We have the top 20 cars here which competed. The winner was crowned last night, in addition to 700 other cars from the local area. I mean, it's huge. It's huge.
I came here Friday to kind of check out what I wanted to shoot and where I wanted, because every year it's different. I got to pat you on the back with this one. This is a real show that car people come to see. For years, they've been putting vendors in the middle of the room with trucks and canopies and all this stuff. You opened up the whole main floor, gave us a ton of walking area, and I'm real critical because if we're shooting a show, we need the area not only to walk around, but to be able to get in with a camera. Thank you so much for doing what you did. And I got to tell you something. The last 50 years I've been coming to shows. This is hot. Folks, if you don't come to these shows, whether you're from Chicago, because we're on worldwide, and you guys, Motorama started back 53 years ago, and it's the oldest consecutive car show every single year, but you guys travel the globe. I remember when I used to come to McCormick Place and that. So if you come to the show, you're gonna love it, because there's a lot of eye candy at this show. What's your favorite?
I love them all. That's my problem. I'd like any one of them. Our local guy here, Harry Willett, has done a fantastic job this year. He put the cars together. I mean, we lay it out. We get the sponsors. We do all these things. We do all the media. But our local guys in each market are the key. And Harry's done a fantastic. This is the best show we've ever had.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you for spending some time with me. 1954 Chevrolet. This car is really unique that it has all of these particular add-ons. They have like little lids over the headlights, curb feelers on the sides. Now that would to protect your white wall when you were driving, trying to park the car so you wouldn't scuff the white wall against the street, the curb. You heard the curb feelers wobbling in the background. There's pipes on the bottom, they're called Lakers. There's little sleeves that are above the the glass. There's a thing over the windshield to protect you from too much sunlight. There was a guy in Chicago, his name was Roy Warshawski. His father and his grandfather started Warshawski Auto Parts on 18th and State Street. They sent Roy to school for the college. They said he was not going to be a man working out in the yard. They wanted to make sure he got educated. Well, when he finished college and he graduated with a business degree, he came to work for his father and grandfather at Warshawski's junkyard, basically, but he started the first automobile catalog for aftermarket parts and became a multi-millionaire. And what you're seeing here on this car with all even the side, there's different lights on it. Rear view mirrors weren't on the right side back then. He's got two sets of rear view mirrors. He's the one that started this. Really an interesting story in Chicago, but Chicago, 1954 Chevrolet. 1955 Ford Thunderbird. Now, this was an amazing car, but this was actually Ford's idea to compete with General Motors back in the 50s. General Motors came out with the Corvette in 1953, and believe it or not, they only made about 300, I think it was 300 of them that first year, the Corvettes. But it was real popular. In fact, I'll tell you a little bit of information on that, and we'll get back to this. 1953, the Corvette, they didn't sell that many of them, but General Motors actually gave them away to the movie stars, celebrities, singers. John Wayne got one, Frank Sinatra, and all these other people. And they did that to hype the sales of the Corvette. Well, the rest is all history. Ford came out with this gorgeous 1955 Thunderbird. This one is all custom. It's got the original engine in it, though, with a dual quad on it, so that's kind of cool. But the color on this automobile is really gorgeous. You're going to see a lot of cars in today's show with colors that are unbelievable. And we're going to tell you a lot of cool stories about Riddler, race cars, hot rods, the custom side of our industry. We're at the 53rd Annual World of Wheels Show in Chicago with this gorgeous 1955 Thunderbird. I'm here with Mark from Hot Rod Auto Body. Now, we've known each other for a number of years.
Many years, man.
Now, you do all kinds of customizing. Now, you do from street rods to actually, is this a restoration?
Yes, sir. This is a 54 Corvette, fully restored.
So you'll actually take and just restore someone's car, or give them that full-blown custom. And you've done some full-blown customs.
Oh, yes, we have. We're A to Z. We're an A to Z shop, man.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about something that people, sometimes I tell them about the Riddler, and they look at me like I'm from a different planet. They never heard of it. It's been going on for like 25, 30 years, I think, right?
Every bit of it. Yeah, every bit of it. It's up in Detroit.
Okay, now, it's invitation only, isn't it?
You have to be qualified. You'll have like something like 40 participants that register for it.
Let's start.
That start, and they whittle it down to 8 cars. That's why it's called the Grade 8.
It's 8.
And out of those 8 cars, they pick one winner. So it's kind of like a beauty pageant. You get 8 contestants, and one's a winner at the end.
Now, you actually did compete about 10 years ago in that award, right?
Well, basically in 2006, we built a 59 Impala called So Big, and we were fortunate to make it into the Grade 8. We finished in the top 3, and from there we got invited to SEMA to represent Hot Wheels for the week out there.
Him mentioning SEMA, let me tell you, you go on my website, richiez.com, you can watch that SEMA show from that year and see the car that we're talking about. It's like a green color 59.
That's correct. It's a two-tone green, light and dark green. It's got a 56 Nomad moldings on the side, which we made all those. Those are all handmade. And there's also an interview that was done by George Barris, about 11-minute interview with me, Bob Delia, that owns the car, and George Barris. We kind of walked around and gave him the grand tour of the car.
That's not on my site, though.
But it's out there.
It's out there.
It's
okay.
out there.
But here, let me define this Riddler thing. What makes it so special?
Basically, if you can win it, I mean, getting into the Grade 8, it's huge. It's huge. And if you can win it, I wouldn't say sometimes it's politics, but if you can win it, it's the most prestigious car award any car builder can obtain. So, I mean, if you make it into the Grade 8, you are with the elite. I mean, you're with the Chip Fooses of the world and the Bobby Alloways and the Troy. So if you can make it in the Grade 8, you've done pretty well for yourself.
But you start out with a car, but that car is nothing like it was originally, and there is not one part on the car to be in the Riddler that is like store-bought, like out of a catalog or something like that.
Everything for the Riddler mostly is a handmade piece. I mean, you might buy something, but you're going to take that something and you're going to modify it totally different from the way you had purchased it. So that way it becomes a one-of.
Now let's talk dollars and cents real quick here. I know the car that you did, you had somewhere in the vicinity of around $700,000 in that car for that Riddler thing.
That is correct.
Now, I heard about a car recently, and I couldn't find out where it was, what car it was, but the guy put $1,400,000 into the car, and he didn't win.
Right. It's not about how much money you put into it. It's about the design of the car, how the car flows, the craftsmanship of the car, the attention to detail, how unique the automobile might be. But in order to obtain and get to that point, it does, in today's world, in today's standards, take anywhere from I would think like $1.5 million to $2 million. And for you watching this, you're probably going to think I'm crazy.
Well, that's what they think when they talk about it.
But I'll give you an example. When we did it, we were a little over 700,000, and we were on the low end. We were competing against cars that were between $1 million and $1.5 million. Now I'll give you an example. 2015 winner was Chip Foose. He did it with a '65 Impala, and rumors close to $3 million.
It's.
I mean, these things are completely engineered, modified, hand-built, rolled things on English wheels, on pull maxes, bender stretchers. There's thousands upon thousands of hours into these cars, and that not only with the parts but the labor winds up adding to that kind of cost.
One point I want to make with this is that you hit the nail on the head with describing what you got to do, but the car has to have sex appeal.
Oh, sure.
You know, color and styling, design. It has to be all. Politics doesn't play into that. If it's something that's unique, sexy, color-wise appealing, that's what wins the prize.
It's got to be a complete package because there's many times you can have a beautiful car, but if the wrong color is chosen, it could really hurt the overall design of the car. So color choice is very important. The color of the interior, the rims that you choose for the car. I mean, everything has to accentuate the other parts of the car.
Hey, Mark, thank you so much. He's from Hot Rod Auto Body in Schiller Park, Illinois, and he can do anything you need as long as you got the bucks. He's the guy that plays with the guys with the big bucks, right?
Well, I don't want to be singled out. We do a lot of stuff for anybody.
Right.
You know, it's just that not every car has to be that. I mean, we do many things from, we have gentlemen that, hey, all of a sudden my turnstile doesn't work on these old cars. Maybe he's got a bad wiring somewhere. So we do a lot of problem solving. We do a lot of upgrading because if a gentleman has a finished car, maybe he wants to go from drum brakes to disc brakes. So we can do stuff like that. So I don't want to be singled out as I only deal with big boys. I deal with everybody. Best way you can describe me is I'm your waiter, and do you want caviar, or do you want a cheeseburger, or someone in between? I work for you.
I'll take the caviar.
You got it, sir.
If you grew up in Chicago like I did, and you go back into the 50s and 60s like I did, in the 60s there was a Chevrolet dealership opened up called Nicky Chevrolet on Irving Park Road, just east of Cicero Avenue. And they actually had the backwards K. I'll tell you a little bit about that backwards K. In advertising, the guy drew it in, and nobody liked it, but it was already ready to go out. So they let it go, and the guy that drew it in said, if it doesn't work, we'll give you your money back, told Nicky Chevrolet. Well, that became a slogan. They did a jingle about it and everything about the backwards K and Nicky Chevrolet. But one thing I want to tell you about Nicky, back then you couldn't buy high performance parts for the automobile. There was no catalogs. Nobody really made anything. Nicky was the dealership that had all the high performance parts you wanted to fix up your Chevy automobile. In fact, I knew guys that worked there. Their parts and service department made a lot more money than their sales department because guys were fixing up their automobiles. So a neat little story about Nicky Chevrolet. If you'd like to advertise on the Chicago History and Automotive Heaven television and radio show, you can contact me at 312-841-2560. Email me at rautomd@gmail.com.